On this week's show, the DITV Force Awakens spoiler cast. All this and more in episode 117 of the Inside Infinity podcast. Do you like Disney as much as we like Disney? Of course you do. Well, if you do, you should check out the Mousecast, MediaMeltdownPodcast.com. Mousecast is a bi-weekly podcast about all things Disney, Disney movies, news, theme parks. This week they had a Force Awakens podcast. Everything Disney, it's your one-stop shop. Head on over to MediaMeltdownPodcast.com, look for the Mousecast.
That's it, I'm turning back. I know your family's waiting. I know it's an important day. All right, we'll give it a try. I'll set your coordinates. I won't jump far. I'll get you back there in time, pal. Trust me. Our only hope now is to outrun that Imperial garbage scow, though. I'm going to Lightspeed. That's the spirit. You'll be celebrating Life Day before you know it. Stand by. Here's where we say goodbye to our unpleasant friends.
The Star Wars Holiday Special. Starring Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker. Harrison Ford as Han Solo. Carrie Fisher as Princess Leia. With Anthony Daniels as C-3PO.
Whoa, not only starring your favorite characters from the Star Wars universe, do not change that channel. This is not going to be the full Star Wars holiday special. People in the chat are already freaking out saying, no, say it ain't so.
I think that was far too much, Will.
You know what? I feel like it wasn't enough. I don't feel like people truly got a sense of the amazingness known as the Star Wars holiday special.
You know, if Disney likes money, and I think they like money, they should re-release that on Blu-ray. And it would just be the most epically hilarious, yet ironically horrible thing they could possibly do. It would be great. I would love to see that. I haven't actually sat down and watched the whole thing. I've seen bits and pieces. I've turned it off numerous times because it's just like, ugh, click. But I'd love to watch it again on Blu-ray in cleaned up. You can even get Lucas back to do like the special edition of this one and add a bunch of stuff back in. That would be great.
I was preparing for this episode and I was doing some research on it, and apparently the thing does not exist. It aired the one time, and that was it. And now because of the internet, it exists out there in the deep dark trenches of the internet. But you cannot buy this thing anywhere, and I think that's the thing that makes it the most interesting.
Yeah, like basically there was a whole underground of people that were trading that on like beta and VHS tapes way back in the day. You go to a swap meet and there'd be the one Star Wars holiday special right at the back, and it would be like $25. It's like, it's just a copy of a copy of a copy. This thing's gonna look terrible. But yeah, well, some of my friends had that. I never actually owned a copy, but I watched it at their houses a few times, but we never sat through the whole thing just because it's horrible, and that before horrible was something that people were going for, I guess. But yeah, I can see why it only aired once.
Well, it's super funny because that's the reason it doesn't exist. You know, most of the time bootlegs occur because people want to buy it for cheap or get it outside of their regions and stuff like that. It's like, nope, Lucasfilm wanted to pretend it did not exist back then. I think it originally aired on CBS too, so yeah. Super funny. Well, this is the Inside Infinity holiday special. You know what? This is not the season of Christmas for most of our listeners. This is the season of The Force Awakens. And this is your first warning. This is going to be a spoiler cast. This is episode 117, recorded December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas, 2015. I am 1 year 2 Jedi Masters this evening, Will Kelly. Joining me tonight, as always, is one and only, I'm going to call you are my, I'm your apprentice, and that is Lloyd Hannison. Lloyd, how are you doing tonight, buddy?
Does that mean you're going to eventually kill me, or are we not sip?
Do we want to give? Let's have some surprises.
We'll have some surprises. Watch See for Eyes Glow It All, and able to figure that out.
One day, you're not going to see Lloyd's face anywhere on the Res TV network anymore, and we're just going to pretend like nothing ever happened. People are going to ask about Lloyd. And
who's this Lloyd you're talking about? No, he's never been here. Will's always been here. Will's always done all this stuff.
Right. I like it.
That'd be great.
I like it. There's got to be balance. I don't know how that makes sense, but...
Right.
Oh, this is going to be a fun show tonight, buddy. So we just mentioned spoilers. This is our spoiler cast for The Force Awakens, both the playset and the movie. It's our time to discuss the movie. It's been...
So if you don't want to hear us tell you that my prediction of Luke actually being Jabba the Hutt coming true in the movie, you might want to turn it off now.
Now's your chance. And you don't listen. Go back in time and scrub the that one episode we did a couple weeks ago. From
yeah, I'm sorry I spoiled it all. I didn't know.
What a
or
jerk!
I did.
What a jerk. Or maybe you did. Super exciting. Yeah, we're gonna no holds barred. So we're gonna talk about everything. So yeah. I haven't even finished the playset yet. Lloyd might even spoil some playset stuff for me, which is totally cool. But I'm excited. I'm really excited. And here's a little inside baseball. Lloyd and I, we've only scratched the surface with our conversation, just he and I. And so I don't know what Lloyd's going to say about the movie. He doesn't really know what I'm going to say. But same thing goes for playset. So this should be a fun conversation.
Yeah, I think we did most of the chatting was between Lem and myself because you hadn't seen it yet. I went to the Thursday 7 p.m. showing, so the true premiere or whatever that most theaters were running. So there was a theater filled with people in costume. The row in front of me was really awesome. There was a bunch of girls that were all dressed up in character.
That's awesome.
There was a couple guys as well, but they just were wearing suits and they had a lightsaber. It was like really weird. I don't know what they were going. But like they had a lightsaber hanging on their belt, but they were in suits. It was really weird. But
those are Disney executives. Now everyone is part of the company outfit is a lightsaber.
Oh, that's what it is. But anyway, one of the girls in front of us was Kylo Ren without the helmet. So she had like handmade the robes. They looked identical to what he wore in the movie. It was pretty wicked. And there was a bunch of Wookiees. There was people in Jedi robes everywhere. It was really cool. I've been to 6 of the 7 Star Wars movies in theater. I don't remember Empire Strikes Back because I was very young, but apparently I was there. It was at a drive-in, and I saw that. But I do remember Return of the Jedi, and then episodes 1, 2, and 3. Return of the Jedi, there was no one dressed up, but episodes 1, 2, and 3, everybody was dressed up. It was crazy, and I went to the first show for episodes 1, 2, and 3 when they aired, and there was so many people in costumes. I wanted to wear a costume, but I didn't. I just wore a Star Wars T-shirt because I was coming right from work. But I want to like get a full suit of Stormtrooper armor is what I want to do, and I want to just wear that to movies and for Halloween forever. It looks so good.
Well, here's some insider info. I hear that the First Order outfits are going on fire sale right now, quite literally.
Interesting. I'll look for that. I'll look up in the sky and see if I can see
just them raining down.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's do a little house cleaning before we get started here. I'd like to say hello to everyone who's watching us in the chat room, who's watching or listening to us, and those in the chat room. 2319, welcome, Rapping Presents, as you're listening to us. We really appreciate you. Hope we provide a little bit of holiday spirit for you. It might not be, the traditional kind, but we'll still do it. What's up, Cindy? Thanks for coming back once again for another podcast. Filtered Reality, good seeing you coming over from the Inside Dimensions show. Same thing for Tad and JB. What's up, buddy? Jazz820. This is the first Star Wars movie they've ever seen, which is super cool. That's got to be an experience in and of itself. King Lupa, how you doing? Romulus, Tesla Blitz, how you guys doing? And then Vample State. So welcome all. Thanks for joining us this week. Super curious to hear your thoughts on the things we talk about on tonight's show. Let us know. Send us your feedback. Let us know if we're completely bonkers for our thoughts on the movie. You can find me on Twitter at @iliam, ILIAM. You can find Mr. Hannison at Dasme, at DASME. And you can find us both at Res TV. And that's just at Resd, REZD TV. that, Lloyd, let's go and get things started. I'm gonna throw it your way first. What did you think of the movie? Did it live up to expectations? Were you greatly disappointed, or somewhere in the middle?
You know, I wanted more Jar Jar. I'm not happy with this movie. No, just obviously joking.
If you more talk like that, I'm throwing on the Star Wars Holiday Special, and then we'll see. we will trump your.
Great. I loved the movie. Like, it was kind of funny. So the movie ended, the credits rolled, and I kind of just sat there, kind of like with my hands up like this, and I just kind of like sat there for a good 5 minutes, just processing everything. It was fantastic. It from start to finish, it hit all the tones of the original trilogy. There was humor, there was good characters, there was good acting. The acting was even better. Like if you look at like episode 4, no one was a very good actor at all. Like Luke acted better in this movie than he did in all the other movies he was in. Just because he's a better actor now, and it's amazing to see how things have gone from early on when Star Wars was around and it was just kind of a, hey, let's do this thing, it's gonna be wild, who knows if people are gonna like it, to what it is now, which is a revered piece of our just geek experience, our geek dictionary. And they hit everything. They hit the humor, as I said. They hit the sets, the fact that it was recorded on film. You could really tell it looked different than the prequel trilogy. It was great, man. I loved every second of it. There was a couple issues, but I'm not gonna go all Neil deGrasse Tyson in this review. It was great, man. It was, as I said, I tweeted out right after. I was like, Star Wars is back. This, like, it gave me the same feelings as I got watching episodes 4, 5, and 6.
That's awesome. My thoughts are similar. For me, it is my all-time favorite Star Wars movie, and I don't know. For me, it's hard to gauge because I've seen all the movies, I've loved all the movies, but I'm not diehard Star Wars. Like, so I don't know if that helped or didn't in that scenario, right? Like, because I was kind of looking at the movie just as a good movie in and of itself. Like you said, the acting was superb. The writing was, it's so cool that this movie is at the tail end of 2015 is being allowed to participate in the Academy Awards. Yeah. Like and that's something that's never really happened before. And well, it may have. I don't know, but if it has, it's a very rare thing.
Did you read all the articles from all the snobs saying, "Oh, this should never be done"? It's like, wow, you're out geeking the geeks. This is amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Flipped and turned on its head. This is so bizarre. But yeah, like it's amazing. The writing was great. The acting, man. Like John Boyega killed it. Like being scared to being like, I'm the man. I'm the man that everybody fears type thing. And then back to his kind of like, oh crap, I don't know what I'm doing character. Yeah. He killed it. And Ridley Scott and everybody in the movie, they were just great. Even Han Solo and Chewbacca is like, how are they going to be in this movie? They were great. Everybody did an amazing job. And you could tell that this movie was being made by someone that is not a creator of the franchise, but someone that is a fan of the franchise, that knows everything, knows what the fans, has basically been in the chat rooms with the really heavy nerd conversations about this movie, and knows what this means to people and what it means to him. And when they said JJ was going to direct it, I was like, oh, all right, let's see what happens. He killed it, man. And it's kind of sad that he's not going to be back for episode 8, because I'd like to see him kind of do this whole trilogy and put that level of love and just his vision into these 3 movies.
J.J. Abrams is one of my favorite writers/directors, and so I was super stoked about him being such a integral part of this. I was reading today, this is kind of a tangent, but I was reading today that after he's read the script for Star Wars 8, episode 8, and he says something he never says to anyone, and that is that he is regretting not doing that movie. That's how good the script is. And I'm like, oh my god, like this movie could be considered by a lot of people, I think, a perfect Star Wars movie. Mm-hmm. And so if Episode 8 is that good, just from on paper, oh god, we have so much to look forward to.
Infinifan in the chat rooms is asking, did anyone else have a wave of adrenaline when the crawl started? When that note hits and the Star Wars logo comes up, the hair on the back of my neck stood up and I instantly got tears. Like, I wasn't crying, but my eyes watered. Like, it was such a powerful moment being in the audience with hundreds of other Star Wars geeks watching at the same time. It was pretty darn powerful.
Was. And that's something that I noticed, is that it was a cultural phenomenon. I remember the first 3 episodes, episodes 1 through 3, people lining up for weeks and months, and people dressing up. But I kind of feel like the response to episodes 1 through 3 really affected the excitement for episode 7, simply because those 3, considered by a lot of people in the grand scheme of things, a bust, and this was the Star Wars fans' moment of redemption, and I think that absolutely added to the hypegeist.
Definitely.
I've also heard from lots of people that in the chat room, someone was saying that this is the first one they've ever seen. I have a few friends that this is the first one they've ever seen, and there's kind of a stigma, I think, with lots of these extremely powerful fan sci-fi movies. Star Trek's, you could say the same thing, and that's, they have their own stigma, and you kind of have these preconceived notions about them. Every single person I've talked to who's seen this movie has absolutely loved it, whether they're Star Wars fans or not, and I think that's a pretty powerful statement as well.
Yeah, I have some friends at work, and the girl's husband is a huge Star Wars fan. She is someone that knows what Star Wars is, kind of. There's that furry guy and they wave around the light things. I'm like, yep, that's kind of what it is. Like, that level of Star Wars knowledge. She loved it. She absolutely loved the movie. Her husband obviously was in Cloud 9 like the rest of us were, but she loved the movie because it was a good movie. The acting, the dialogue, the pacing, everything was... They banged it out of the park. I loved episode 1, 2, and 3 when they came out. Through many rewatchings and growing older, I can look back and say, wow, that was a huge miss from what it could have been. This one, I've only seen it the once. I'm going to be going again in the next few days with my family to see it a second time. But I don't think this movie will have that same effect. I think it'll be similar to 4, 5, and 6. In how it ages as the years go on.
Yeah,
it'll be good.
Yep, definitely. And I'm going to see it New Year's Day. I plan to go with my wife, and we're going to do she's never seen, the only episode she's ever seen was episode 1, and so we're going to do a marathon leading up to it. And I was telling her today, I'm like, I cannot wait to go see that movie with her, because I know she's just going to love the movie, but it was just such a good movie. I can't wait to see it again. That's all there's to it.
No, totally. I fully agree with you there. All right, well, let's jump into the actual movie itself. I don't know how you want to handle this, Will. I'm still like scared to talk about this is spoiler cast, and I don't want to talk about spoilers, so you're gonna have to lead this here, because I'm a little timid when we get into spoiler cast territory.
Well, one thing I want to bring up to just go ahead and get this out of the way, because I'm afraid of the response, and I'm actually curious to hear your response. I thought it was a great movie, great writing, great acting. It was my favorite Star Wars. It was not original to me. I felt like, and I feel like that was intentional, but I'm like, really? Are there no other super weapons in the world than an even more powerful Death Star? I mean, come on. And not only that, but some of the settings, some of the way the character interactions kind of happened. I feel like a lot of things about it were unoriginal, but that being said, they kind of get a pass because it was intentional, I think. I mean, do you have any thoughts on that? Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it's Star Wars, right? Like, the Death Star was always the big bad. now this is the bigger bad. But even the whole plot of the movie was kind of been done before. It's like a bunch of kind of powerless kind of people kind of fumbling their way through life, end up coming together and meet up with a couple other people, and then they save the universe. And it's been done before, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Like, I think the prequel trilogy kind of tried to do things in a different way, and obviously didn't work, whether it was the writing, whether it was the directing, whether it was the crazy CG being the focus, not the actual movie themselves. I don't really hate it that much, but we'll see what episode is. If in the next movie they're tearing down AT-ATs and doing other things like that, and there's another Star Killer base somewhere else, it'll be like, okay, maybe we should move away from the movies that have already been done. But I didn't
it's still in production, though.
Yeah, exactly.
2319 is making an interesting comment. I think JJ managed to create both a sequel and a reboot, and that's kind of an interesting way of approaching it. And for me, my only real issue with it didn't make me think any less of the movie itself. I feel like if it was more original, for lack of a better term, I would have felt the same way about the movie, as long as all the other aspects were there. Just while I was watching it distracted me, and that was the only bummer part, because I just wanted to be consumed with the experience. And every time I'd see something familiar, I'd be like, I recognize that. But I guess there's something to be said about that too.
Yeah. Like, I knew the base was coming. It had been kind of leaked like a long time ago that the main focus was going to be another star base, and it was called Star Killer. And then people are like, oh, well, that was Luke Skywalker's. That was supposed to be his last name, was Luke Starkiller. Oh, I wonder if he's going to be the guy, the big bad in this movie. And that's where kind of all those kind of threads kind of came together, where Luke is going to do the heel turn in this movie, and he's going to be the new emperor, which obviously didn't happen. Spoilers. The spoiler cannot say that. But yeah, it was just like, okay, so this base was going to be a thing. I knew it was going to be the focus. But again, they're attacking it. They're finding the weakness. There's always an exhaust port. It's not the size.
There's always a trench.
It's not a Womp Rat anymore, but it's a huge building that they're blowing up, and somehow that leads to the core and blows it up. Sure, whatever. A couple well-placed charges is enough to blow up an entire planet. Okay, that makes sense. As crazy as that is, I didn't hate it. I was like, okay, blow up all the big star bases. I don't care. Just blow them all up. You guys are awesome. Fly in there with the Millennium Falcon and blow some stuff up.
So I think maybe the way we should approach this is just kind of hitting some of the big beats, not going through the whole movie. But let's just go ahead and get started, because we are introduced to one of the main characters, and then one very, very close to being a main character right off the get-go. And that is, we see Poe and Finn, who is FN something number, doesn't have an actual name. What do you think of these two characters in the movie itself, Poe and Finn?
Yeah, I didn't expect to like Poe. I just thought he was going to be a throwaway character. He's going to be another red leader and all this, like just someone that you see in all the movies, but you really don't get to know that much. He actually turned out to be an okay character. I liked him. He was like very kind of arrogant and boastful, but yet I don't know, kind of welcoming to Finn, which is great. Finn was really interesting. I always wondered what was going to be like happening with the new stormtroopers, because the original stormtroopers, they were clones, so they had no say in what they were doing. But then you find out the First Order, they have all these these stormtroopers that are non-clones. There's not just one person. There's white, black, Asian, every color skin people. There's girls, there's boys, or men and women, I guess, since they're not babies. They're full-grown people. And I was like, how are you going to get all these people together to fight and do evil things, like stand there with a flamethrower and flamethrow a village? And then they said, well, yeah, we've had this program. We've stolen these kids when they were a baby, and they've been indoctrinated, and they've been forced to think this way. It was like, oh, okay. So that's kind of how the clones were born. They went to schools on how to learn to listen to the Emperor, and how to have fun while listening to the Emperor, and how to go about your daily business while listening to the Emperor. So it was kind of the same thing. And I was like, okay, that totally makes sense. this, because I was really worried that there would be like these people wouldn't, there wouldn't be a million evil characters that are so, or a million people that are so scared of their commanders that they would do all these really horrible things. And it turns out that, well, they're brainwashed essentially, which I thought that was a good thing.
I really like how effectively they communicated that in the movie without having to go on this long diatribe about those characters. Like it was a couple sentences, and it told you everything you need to know. And actually, that was kind of that happened quite a bit in the movie. Is like they hit some really important things that had happened in the last 30 years. Without having to just beat your head against the wall to make sure you understand it. It's like they throw out the line and see if you bite. And that's why the beauty of subsequent rewatches is going to be fun. Since we're kind of on the topic of the characters, what do we think of the actual in-game characters? So first, let's talk about Poe. You said you were kind of surprised with him in the movie. And kind of you liked him more than you thought you were going to. What do you think of that guy right there? Mine's currently on my base.
Least favorite character of the 4 that came with the set.
Okay.
He's good in the game, but we have a better ranged fighter with Finn. He doesn't have a lightsaber. He doesn't have any sort of weird, crazy staff. So he's just less interesting than all the other characters in game. But I'm kind of glad he exists. We'll see what happens with him in the future movies to see maybe he'll be a fan favorite that'll make a comeback. But as of right now, if I'm reaching for a character and my characters are dying, he's number 4 to go on once the 3 others have died.
It's funny you say that because I feel the exact same way. My point of clarification is that although he's my least favorite in game, he's my favorite out of game. He's my favorite figure. Simply the pilot piece has something to do with it, but I also love how detailed it is with his flight suit kind of hanging off him and holding the helmet is so cool. They could have left that part out, but having him hold his helmet there is just so awesome, and his visor's transparent. And I super dig him out of game. In game, I absolutely agree with you. There's nothing that he does that the other characters don't do any better. And with that,
King Lupa in the chat room says he has BB-8, you haters. And you can use BB-8 as a distraction mechanism. Yeah. That is the only cool part about him. It's kind of wasted on him though, because I don't use him that often. Be better if he was with I don't know, Ray maybe, because I use Ray a lot, and same with Finn. But BB-8 is cool in the game.
He is, but he's just a distraction. I don't know how you could make him attack for you, but I was kind of bummed out that I was live streaming this morning, and it was the first time I'd used his special, and the chat room was helping me, and they're like, I was like, oh, what'd he do? And I was like, did he kill anyone? I didn't see one. They're like, no, he's just there to distract. I'm like, oh, bummer.
It's just so adorable that people just stand there and look at him.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Finn. FN21 something that someone told me in the chat. 2187. But now known as Finn.
In game?
In Poe's jacket. Yeah, go ahead. Do his figure first this time.
Okay. He's great. He's my favorite character. Him combined with this is the most overpowered character in this whole entire game. It is great. If you buy the Force Awakens Power Disc set, it comes with Finn's Stormtrooper outfit. It basically makes his gun fire at light speed, and the reload time is incredibly short. So you can basically just sit there and just fire the gun constantly. His special in the game basically does a super blast, and there's another thing that you can unlock where if you are if you're shooting in aim mode, every hit that you do recharges some of your special power. So with this and that special power and using a super, you are just wrecking all the people in the game. It's quite fun. He's my new favorite character in all of Disney Infinity right now. I love Finn.
That's amazing. I would go so far as to say that Power Disc pack is worth it for that disc alone.
Totally.
It's like I wanna have him wearing Poe's jacket, but you know what? Instead, I'll just use the jacket costume change disc on Poe and have Finn in his stormtrooper outfit because he is just so OP. It is glorious. Like if I ever get in trouble, he's my most powerful or my highest ranked character right now because he just tears up shop and he doesn't die nearly as fast as the others.
Totally, like 100%. The one thing that's funny is at one part in the playset when you're playing, you get a little pop-up that says you've unlocked the lightsaber for use with Finn. And I'm like, oh, so I'm hitting all the buttons and it's not working. And I'm like, oh, maybe it's something that you do in the playset later.
Yeah.
It's not a thing. So I played the rest of the game and I never saw it. And I was chatting in the chat room or in our group chat that we had this morning. And Lem's like, oh, yeah, no, it's in his combo. I'm like, combo? Oh, his melee combo. And he's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, I don't use melee with him because he kills everybody with his gun. So I've never seen the lightsaber come out. So apparently I'm going to have to do that and check out his lightsaber attack.
Luckily, I got that heads up from you. So when I unlocked it, I tested that. And it's super disappointing. It's not even worth going back. It's like the last hit in the combo. And I'm like, really? It was I even mentioned it this morning. I was like, it's such a missed opportunity. But
he wasn't very good with the lightsaber in the movie either. He got knocked out. So maybe that's not
twice.
Twice, exactly. Maybe that's not a bad thing.
Yeah. Cool. So we like Poe out of game, not so much in game. We like Finn in game, not so much out of game. Let's go back to the movie, and then we see our heroine. We see none other than Rey, who is doing her best Lara Croft impression, where it's like she's.
Did you say that we don't like Finn in the movie? I love Finn in the movie.
I mean, in the game.
In the game, okay.
Yeah. Actually, we didn't. I think we skipped over. Well, no, we did. I don't know.
About his indoctrination and then his turn to be good. The one thing that I want to bring up about Finn is the kind of misdirection was great. It's called the Force Awakens. You show him awakening in the desert, pulling off his helmet. Well, the Force didn't awaken in him. It was just a total. I don't know, pulling the wool over eyes from the start, which makes me feel both foolish and super happy that they did that because I totally didn't expect that to happen. And maybe he does have the Force powers. Who knows? But that was a really, really interesting thing from the trailer to him in the movie where he grabs the lightsaber, he knows what to do, and then he just gets knocked out. And it was almost comical. His battle with Kylo Ren, which was really great.
Yeah, thanks for kind of backing us up here. Finn was my favorite character in the movie. I just feel like his arc was so interesting, and his hero's journey was one that wasn't an all-powerful one. Like, as someone who is familiar with this world, unlike Finn, we're like, dude, you're picking up a lightsaber.
Yeah, you're picking up Excalibur.
Yeah,
it's a weapon of legend.
Mm-hmm. And some movies might be lazy and just have him be a super awesome dude with a lightsaber, but no, he really sucks with it, and that's the way it should be. That made him a lot more interesting.
Totally. And I just loved his character, like his attitude where he's trying to trick people poorly. He's making up stories that are totally not believable. Parts. And then all the comedy in the movie was based around him. Like there's a couple of comments. Like at one point, he says something to BB-8. He's like, "Droid, please," and he walks off screen. And I started laughing like crazy in the theater, and people are kind of looking at me, and I'm like, he said, "Droid, please." Like, come on. Like, did you expect that? And then there was that trying to trick BB-8 into doing something. BB-8 finally does what he wants. He gives BB-8 the thumbs up. He's super happy. BB-8 sticks out his little thing, and then there's a little flame that comes up for the thumbs up. Like, I was laughing so hard at everything in the movie when Finn was on screen. He was great. But then he was super serious when he had to be. I really love his character.
Yeah, me too. Cindy in the chat says, "Can't believe he said, 'I need a weapon.'" Dude, you have a weapon.
You have the weapon.
The weapon. Yeah.
Totally.
And it was really interesting kind of seeing him, kind of taking it back to that Awakens part. Like, his eyes kind of open up throughout the movie. You see him mature where he was, shelter's not a very good word, but, he was an indoctrinated person in this army of clones, even though they're not clones, but they're been brainwashed and everything. And kind of watching him, go from just being nothing but afraid, but he wasn't running constantly. He was still concerned for others. He was unneedingly concerned for Rey, even though she could totally take care of herself. But he was concerned for her. He was concerned for Han, even though he was also trying to save his own skin. Where I feel like other movies, where you kind of have a moment of redemption for a character like this, where to start off he's like, I even think maybe Han Solo early on, he's someone out for himself and saving his own hide. Where I guess that's why he turned anyway from the get-go, is because he saw wrong in what they were doing, and he has a conscience throughout the whole thing, and it was self-preservation, but also making sure that others around him were safe and stuff. Yeah,
I totally. He is definitely that character. He's kind of the Han Solo moving forward. He's the guy that is he's a comedic foil, but he's also serious. And I'm curious, like I really am curious for Episode 8 if he is actually gonna get Force powers. If there's gonna be something brought into that where the Force isn't just awakening in Rey, it's gonna be other characters in the world. Finn being one of those characters, because he just had way too much luck, and luck is something that the Jedi have, but they see it as luck, but it's really it's the Force, right? So I'd be really, really, really curious to see what happens, and if he doesn't, that would be quite a shock to me in kind of the Episode 8 or Episode 9.
Well, take a look at Maz. She's someone who's very experienced in the knowledge of the Force. We don't know to what degree, but she's like, Rey doesn't want this, so here, you take this. And for someone who knows, like, you wouldn't really, I don't think you'd ever give a lightsaber to the untrained. So that's cool. That's interesting.
So maybe he was one of the kids that was taken from the Jedi, the Jedi school before all the murders happened or whatever, that they talked about with Kylo. We'll see what happens, but it was really cool. And that whole thing, like, you take it, was just like, really? Thing, though, the most, I don't know, iconic weapon in the big battles that happened 30 years ago. Oh yeah, just give it to some random dude because he happens to know another girl that saw things when she touched it. It was.
You fumble it and cut off your arm. It's like, it's not something to be messed with.
Yeah, totally. It's great. Yeah. So Finn, loved him in the movie. Love him in the game.
Been super awesome. All right, let's talk about Rey. So we see Rey early in the movie, masked, who is doing her tomb raiding and surviving. And so since you have her figure, let's talk about her end game first. So what do you think?
I really like her. I'm more usually in the game. I'm more of a ranged fighter. Like, I like the characters that have guns and other things. I like Iron Man because you can just fire repulsors a bunch of times. She's probably because the battle, like the fighting, has never been that fun. Like, it's been good, but it hasn't been something that I want to do for the whole game. For some reason, she feels different. Her attacks they're more powerful, but that's not the only reason. There's just something about her in the game that I really, really dig. I love all of her powers. I love her skill tree. And I just love the fact that both Finn and her are voiced by the actual movie characters. It's not like the terrible, like, simulation of Kylo Ren and in the game. I really like that. So I'm really, really stoked to play with her more because I think she's going to turn to be one of my favorites as well.
Dude, that's super funny you say that, because I'm kind of on a Force Awakens high right now, so I have to try to keep that into consideration. But as it stands right now, she's my favorite melee character I've ever played with. And I'm like, is it the bow? And I was like, well, I have Darth Maul, and that's a double-bladed lightsaber, which kind of works like a bow. Is it because she's just an awesome character and she's voiced by Daisy Ridley? What is it about her? And it's just, it's fun. I feel like she's as powerful as Finn is in game from a melee perspective. Like, I feel like that those are my two go-to, and that I can tear up shop with her just as well as Finn, with the exception of not being able to keep your distance. And yeah, she's awesome. And canonically, in the playset, I love, it's dumb, but I love grabbing the scraps as her, because that's
totally
what
right.
she does.
It feels weird. Like, I was doing a big chunk of the playset as Kylo Ren, and I'm like,
Yeah,
that doesn't feel right. I got to put Rey down, because she's the one that does the scrounging for stuff.
yeah. So yeah, I don't. Her figure to me is good. My problem with her figure is I didn't like her outfit in the movie, and it totally makes sense. But
it's kind of like, it's like Jedi robes, but really sneaky way to put Jedi robes on this character.
That is, I'm dumb, and that is totally accurate.
Yeah, I liked it.
You're probably right with that.
Really liked it. I like her. I just love her as a character. I think my daughter hasn't seen the movie yet, but I know she's going to immediately see her and how she kicks butt throughout the whole movie, and is going to be the star of the movie. And her little eyes are going to light up, and she's going to really love that. It's awesome how they're basically they're making the main character a female this go around, which is great, because Star Wars isn't a guy thing. Star Wars is a everybody thing, and to have kind of your main character in the movies going forward, potentially, who knows, she could die, you never know, a female is going to be great for a whole generation of kids that are growing up right now, that know that it's not only the big dudes that are the stars, it can be anybody, which is going to be really, really great for my kids to see when we watch the movie.
Yeah, totally. I'm laughing in the chat when she called the Falcon junk. She's like, "What? That's hilarious." I agree with you, and the fact that they stayed away from so many tropes, especially sci-fi tropes, which is unfortunately super bad with a lot of those things. She was just amazing. Oh, she has internal struggles, but she's not a damsel in distress by any means, even though Finn's first reaction is to think of her that way. And it kind of turned in almost instantly to them co-oping and partnering up. And that chase scene on Jakku, when they're running away, that's like one of them gets the upper hand and helps the other one out. And then they get to another spot and the reverse is true. And so that's a really cool kind of interaction between Finn and her. And one thing I also really liked about it, her character and Finn's connection, is that there's a connection there, but I don't know if it's a romantic, if it's a brother-sister thing. It kind of seemed like at first Finn wanted some sort of like romantic connection, but
he was hitting on poorly, which was great.
Yeah, but it was such a non-focus. It wasn't like a Luke and Leia or then a Leia Han thing, and I think that also kind of modernizes things a bit.
Totally. And we're chatting in the chat room, and we're thinking that maybe Finn is Force sensitive. He's not strong in the Force. Maybe that's why Kylo noticed him when he was just kind of standing there with his gun. Maybe it wasn't just hey, that guy's not doing what everybody else is doing. Maybe it's because Kylo himself isn't really a trained Sith or a Jedi. He knows that he has powers. He trained a little bit, enough to basically get a grasp on some of the powers. But maybe he saw someone and felt something that he hadn't felt before, because there really wasn't very many Jedi in the world, any Force users in the world. So maybe Finn has a very low level of Force powers, and they're saying, maybe Poe as well. And maybe that's why he's the best fighter in the universe, right? Maybe he has a little bit of Force sensitivity as well. So it will be really interesting to see how episode 8 and episode 9 kind of flesh out the awakening of the Force and all the people that are starting to show signs of being potential Jedi, right?
Yeah, so this is kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but just so I don't forget to say it, my favorite part of the movie overall is all the unknowns, all the questions we still have, and just like the what if games we can play with each other is super. I was talking to my buddy, he's like, oh God, we have a year and a half until the next episode in the trilogy. And I'm like, dude, we're at the best time. We have 2 more of these episodes to look forward to, and most people are like, I can't wait to get to the end, but at the end it's over. Well, now it's Disney, so it's never going to be over. But
well, yeah, not when we're going to be getting a Star Wars movie every single year for the rest of our lives, pretty much, with all the spin-offs and the one-offs, and there'll be another trilogy probably after this. So yeah, I'm really happy because Star Wars is my favorite thing when it comes to like movie properties. So the thought of watching a Star Wars movie every single year until I die, I kind of like that. That's a really good thing. But yeah, I kind of feel that way too. It's like, I want to know the whole story, but then I'm glad I don't know all this other stuff because it makes episode 8 that much more interesting. It's going to be great.
Totally. It's funny. It's made me more of a Star Wars fan. I've going back and looking at all the previous Star Wars stuff with different eyes, and it's has a different level of interest for me, which is super awesome. Let's get back to the character real quick. So I feel like Finn and Rey, to me, they're equals when I'm playing with them. I love them both equally. And another just kind of side note to that is that these are two of probably the strongest two characters, not from a gameplay perspective, but from an existence perspective. And the fact that they include them both in the playset is awesome. I mean, I would not have been surprised if they gave us Poe, and that would have just been a cop-out. And I think these two are a great yin and yang, very much like they were in the movie. They work very well together.
Totally. Like, favorite characters in the game, Finn, followed by Rey, followed closely by Kylo, which is weird because these are all ones that just came out, and they're my favorite characters to play with in the game. But that's jumping ahead. I won't jump ahead too far.
Well, it's a great segue. Let's talk about Kylo Ren.
Cool.
So
let's talk about him in the movie first.
Okay, go ahead.
So, there was a lot of unknown in the audience when I sat down to watch the movie. There was people that said Kylo Ren is really Luke, and I proceeded to tell the person, is like, well, we've seen pictures of Adam Driver without his helmet on, so unless that was just him taking a breath between scenes, that is not a thing. He's like, no, it's gonna be. He was sure that he was gonna be Luke, and I'm like, okay, well, maybe in some weird world, maybe that's happening. But he's kind of the character that we didn't really know much about, except for that one shot of him in like Entertainment Weekly or whatever, when he was standing there without his helmet on. We only ever saw him in the full garb that he's in, the black robes and the helmet, and him with that weird voice. So I was most interested to see how this is all going to play out. I knew that like Rey and Finn, I knew I was going to like those characters, and I knew they were going to be kind of forcey characters that are going to learn something. But I didn't really know what to think of Kylo Ren. I don't know if I like him more than Darth Vader, but I really like him as a potential evil person, or maybe someone that is not evil, but he's doing evil things to carry out what he feels his grandfather was trying to do, which was to unite the Force. So maybe he knows that I have to be evil so that the dark side and the light side could come together and become one. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this character plays out. In the movie, I loved that he was a spoiled little brat. He gets mad and throws tantrums. When you find out later that he's like a kid, essentially he's like Han's son. He was training with Luke before he went crazy. You could tell that he's an angsty teenager, and he totally plays that perfectly in the movie.
Yeah.
Look like you're gonna say something.
Yeah, no, just to add on to that, I loved that part, and I hated that about Luke and Anakin.
Oh, Anakin's whininess made me insane. Kylo, not. Adam Driver played it perfectly. He was angsty, he was angry, he was lashing out, but then snapping out of it, getting down to business and trying to do what he thought that his master wanted him to do.
Exactly, and I feel like canonically it makes sense because he's part of that lineage. He's part of all of those characters. Luke, so it's like you kind of have both sides of Vader here. He's able, and who he's trying to emulate. He has the whininess of Anakin, but he can rein that in to kind of become Vader when he needs to be. And I just feel like his character is so multi-dimensional. He's so imposing when he has his mask on, and you see him go through these tantrums, and then he takes off his mask, and he's
a baby face.
Yeah,
hey, he's a baby face. He looks like he is like, I don't know, 16. Like he looks very like, I don't know how old this character is supposed to be, because I haven't done the math, but he looks like he could be just a teenager that is has something that he doesn't know how to control, like the 14-year-old that drives his parents' car for the first time, gets a red light camera ticket, runs a stop sign, and then plows into a phone booth or a telephone pole or something, right? Like, doesn't understand the power that he's wielding, and that totally came across fully in this movie. Whether that's how the character's going to evolve, we don't know. But I expected to not really like him that much, and I really liked him because he's very, very complex. He has many different layers, kind of like his robe. But I really liked him as a character. But the whininess was perfect. His tantrums, taking out a lightsaber and blowing up the computers in front of him because something that he didn't like appeared on them, was just like, yep, that would be what a kid would do. If you gave him a lightsaber, he would do stupid junk like that.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing I can say that it's kind of funny that that attribute I hated about Anakin and Luke. It bothered me as well, but not nearly as much. I think that was partially bad directing and writing, but I don't know. It's neither here nor there. I think that it's become an important part of that lineage, and but the fact that it doesn't detract, in fact, it only makes him more interesting, is super awesome. And it's just such an interesting dichotomy. You look at his mask, you look at his robes, he's in all black. You look at this lightsaber, which is very similar to his personality. It's not refined. It's kind of, it's
out of control.
Out of control, exactly. And that's almost more scary than Darth Vader. Vader is deliberate in everything he does. This guy is like, when Cindy was saying in the chat, that scene where the two stormtroopers, like, they're walking down the hall, and then they hear that, and they're like,
they hear the flashing and everything happening. They're just kind of like, nope, turn around, walk the other way, which was hilarious.
Yep. So yeah, super awesome. And they didn't kill him. Super important, in my opinion. Darth Maul was such a lost opportunity there.
Yeah, he was great. And yeah, he died too soon. And yeah, he got injured and he fought with an injury. So he's a tough little guy, but he wants to go to his new mentor and get some more training. So we'll see how that all plays out.
Well, let's take a break from the figure and let's just kind of talk about the elephant in the room, because they could have killed him off, but
they could have easily,
but they didn't.
Nope, they did not. They killed someone else off. I don't want to say it, even though it's a spoiler cast. So yeah, so that scene between Han Solo and Kylo, or what's his name, Ben? No, Ben. It's not. It is Ben.
It is Ben. Yeah. Which I missed the first time because I thought he was. I couldn't tell if he said Ben or Ren.
Yeah. See, that's kind of what I was thinking, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, so he had this really great conversation. So Kylo, or Ben, was talking to Han, and he's like, I really need to do something, but I don't know if I'm strong enough. And then they talk back and forth, and then Kylo basically stabs Han through the chest with his lightsaber. Really interesting. I kind of saw the scene coming, but then I kind of hoped that it wouldn't happen that way. But I mean, it drove the story forward, which is great. The really interesting thing is when you kind of play that scene over and you look at it from a different angle, and you look at maybe Kylo Ren as not a Dark Lord, not a Sith Lord, not a Dark Jedi, but someone that is trying to do what Darth Vader was doing, maybe not as evil as Darth Vader was eventually doing it, but trying to unite the Force. Basically, to become a Sith, you have to kill someone. whether it's your master, whether it's someone like your parents, you have to kill someone that is near and dear to you, and that starts you down the dark path. So maybe what he was talking about was not I want to be good, but I can't be. It was like, I want to unite the two sides of the Force, but I don't know if I'm strong enough. And maybe Han knew what he was saying and said, yep, do what you got to do type thing. I'm your father. I'm going to let you become all that you can become. Really interesting. I love that scene. I can't wait to watch it again and again. I can't wait till this movie comes out on DVD or Blu-ray so I can watch it 1,000 times just to play out the scenes and rewind them and play them again. But there was some really interesting dialogue there, and I want to see how that kind of plays out through the rest of the movies. But I like the fact that Han died. Someone had to add some importance to this movie. And let's be real, Harrison Ford is ancient and he likes to crash planes apparently, and who knows if he'd be around for episode 8 or episode 9 because of that. So this made sense for that to be the character that would die off. But yeah, it was interesting. I like that whole scene. Him in the movie and that scene in particular was really, really well done.
I'm really sad to say this scene lacked complete emotional impact for me. I expected it, and I don't think that's different because a lot of people expected the stakes to be high. There was reluctance of Harrison Ford coming into this movie to begin with, and that's why I kind of expected it walking in. But I just wish it would have happened another way. I wish it wouldn't have been so obvious. There's a long plank over this cavern, and it was just too obvious. Like I had too much time leading up to the crescendo to prepare myself for it. So when it happened, I was like, well, all right, now let's go to the next scene. And so I didn't even mourn Han Solo at that point, which was a bummer to me. But I think what you just said, rewatching it, I think it's going to have more impact because instead of me like waiting for the death, that entire scene, that dialogue, all I was thinking about, okay, when's he going to die? I know it's happening right now. When's it going to happen? Next time I'm going to focus more on the dialogue, and it will probably have more impact on me then versus the first time. But I was talking to a buddy of mine who, for him, that scene solidified his hate for, and actually Steve C, I was listening to the Mousecast this week. It's the same moment. It solidified their hate for him. And so it sounds like it was effective for a lot of people. It wasn't for me, but
totally.
It was important to happen.
Fully agree there. The one thing that was interesting was they kind of telegraphed it. So then I thought, okay, they've already flipped the script once with Finn not being the Force user, badass lightsaber guy. Okay, what's going to happen here? And it's like, okay, is he going to give him the lightsaber? Is he going to come over to the light side? Is he going to fight the dark side? It was interesting. That whole scene could have played out a couple different ways. Yeah. I expected it to play out the way that it did. But yeah, it could have been different, right? It wasn't, but it could have been. So there was a little bit of doubt there, but yeah, you're right. Yeah. Like the slow walk down the huge like plank, essentially, it was just like, okay.
Yeah.
Just do it. Let's not it's here with dialogue. Let's get to the next scene and see what happens.
Yep, agreed. One thing I do think that adds credence to that scene is that you even touched on it. I think Han knew what was happening, and he was there to help his son one way or another. He was going to let his son decide and make that decision, and Han was going to assist in that. And if that meant his death, which I think he might have expected, when you look at the very brief glimpse we got of Han Solo in this movie, we're able to fill in quite a few blanks for the last 30 years, and that there was this something bad happened with Leia and him, and my finger points to Kylo Ren, that being the thing that broke them apart. And so he's just been a smuggler for the last however many years, and now it's his turn to be a dad again and be there for his son one way or another. And if that's for him to solidify his place on the dark side or not.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Like, he got stabbed and fell, we didn't see him die. He was still life. He still had life when he fell.
It's a good question or a good point.
He could be alive. Very unlikely because the whole thing blew up. So unless he fell into the guts of a planet, landed in a spaceship that was blasting off, very unlikely that he lived. But he's cast in the 8th movie. So is he going to be there for flashbacks? Is he going to be there as a body? Is he going to be there alive? Is he going to be there as a Force ghost because he died by a lightsaber of a Sith Lord? Maybe that is the key or something. Like, who knows what they're going to do with the Star Wars mythology, right? I don't think it's the last that we see of Han Solo. Obviously, there's going to be the movie about like the kind of the one-off movie of him with obviously not Harrison Ford because he's ancient now. So we're going to see more of Han Solo, the character. But it was interesting how they kind of left it unknown. So there is that doubt. It's like, okay, is Kylo Ren good or bad? Is Han Solo really dead? We don't know. We can assume the whole planet blew up, but maybe he escaped somehow. I don't know.
Yep. But there's it's like the Lost Island. You can never be too sure about anything in the Star Wars universe.
Thanks, JJ.
Yeah, seriously. Since they're kind of there, and then we'll circle it back to Kylo Ren, the playset. What do we think of Leia?
She's old. Like, you can tell that she's been through some stuff in that movie. Like, she's now not Princess Leia. She's General Leia or whatever she goes by, depending on who's talking to her. And she's been through some stuff. She's old. She's had a lot of face work done because her face was really tight. I thought that was kind of interesting. It's like, whoa, wow, facelift. That's crazy. But anyway, she's old. Like, not just like age old. Like, she's been through a lot of things in the last 30 years. So I'm really curious to see how she's going to play in the next movie. Is she going to be a major role in kind of the battle that's going to come now that the big super weapon blew up, and you know that all like the Knights of Ren and the First Order are gonna have their tails between their legs, and they're gonna try to regroup and do something else. Is she going to be the person that is going to say it's a trap and lead that battle? But yeah, she looks experienced. So I really like that she wasn't just this princess that was put up in a castle and ate bonbons and grapes from the vine. She did a lot of stuff in the last 30 years, which I thought was really good.
I loved her in it. I felt that her performance surprised me. It was some of her best acting, I feel like, in all the Star Wars.
Yeah, all the old actors, it was their best acting. It's so weird. Yeah,
but I don't think she's done as much acting as the other two.
Very true.
I feel like that her interactions with Han were really genuine, and it was kind of this cool thing, and I might have been filling in the blanks, but I felt like for them it was kind of a reunion. Like in real life, you know, it was kind of Harrison Ford and oh my god, Carrie Fisher.
Yeah.
It felt like that was bleeding through into the movie, and that's probably me just wanting to believe that, but I thought I loved her in it, and I hope she comes back, and I was super worried about her because all the stuff I've seen, I will never forget what happened at the Star Wars Celebration this year at the interview with her, and that is cemented in my mind, but now it's been replaced with this with her performance in Force Awakens, which is preferred. I like that much better.
You didn't like the stuff that she was doing there, where she was being crazy and insane? I thought it was fun.
Yeah. It was funny. It was funny.
Yeah. There was an even better thing. There was the red carpet. So you had StarWars.com doing like the live stream of the red carpet stuff, and she came on, and Anthony Carboni was just there trying to interview them, and it was her and a couple other actors, and they were just kind of talking to each other, and he's just like, oh, I guess we're just gonna stand around here, and she turns over and is like, oh, you're here? Oh, okay, let's talk to you, and then she grabs the microphone, and then she does all the interviewing for that segment, and it was just like perfect. That is like, Carrie Fisher's great. I really really like that.
That's funny.
Yeah,
that's really funny. Anything else, or do you want to swing it back around to the playset?
Yeah, let's go back to the playset. So Kylo, we talked about him in the movie. We talked about some of the scenes of him in the movie. Mm-hmm. What do you think of him in the playset? He's a Force character with a lightsaber. We have a lot of those, but they all somehow control and behave and play differently, I kind of like him the best of all the Jedi. Like, these three figures are my favorite three characters in the whole entire game. Like, how is that possible that they all came out in this playset? And it could just be my good feels from watching the movie recently that is making that a thing. But as kind of like I wanted this guy to be a badass. I wanted him to just wreck everything. Darth Vader is kind of my most underwhelming figure in the game. I expected him just to be this amazing character, and he's slow and lumbering, and I don't like that kind of character set or that character class in these types of games. Kylo, on the other hand, he is fast, he's agile, he has that great kind of boost that he does, so you can do like the force jump, and then you can basically charge at a person and then go right into a combo. He plays more like a fighting game character than any of the other Force users. I really, really, really like him. He's one of my favorite characters as well.
So he is out of all of them so far, except for Poe, he's my least experienced one. I just unlocked his coin this morning, and so I haven't had much time with him. So still getting my bearings as far as comparing him to the other lightsaber wielding characters. That being said, his special is my favorite of any of these characters, at least. I'm like, my head fanboy exploded when I'm like, whoa, he freezes guys like he does in the movie. How cool is that?
How cool was that scene in the movie when he froze the blast that was coming at him and held it there for like 5 minutes? I was sitting there with my mouth open, like, holy crap, this is amazing. And then he kind of does that in the playset as well when you fight him as a boss. That said, the boss battle, I guess it's spoiler cast. I'll spoil it.
Spoiler cast. Cindy told me about it this morning, so go ahead.
The Kylo fight is my least favorite boss battle in the whole entire game. It's 3 of the same battles, and all you're doing is shooting exploding barrels by him. It's so underwhelming. You go to hit him with a melee attack, he destroys you. You stand back and shoot him with a blaster, he freezes it and then sends it back at you. So the only way that you can damage him is to either throw a barrel at him or make him walk close to a barrel and then shoot it. It's bad. It's bad.
That's Cindy was saying that it's super hard. So I guess that's the trick. Shoot the barrels and don't do anything else, which is
you can't do anything else or you'll die. Yeah, you basically throw a barrel at him and then shoot it when he holds it over his head, or you make him walk towards one and shoot it. But you do the same fight in 3 phases, and it's the exact same battle. Didn't really like that. Him in the game, though, amazing character. He's fast. He's super powerful. He has the force pull, and he also has the charge. So you can go super jump, do a charge, and then force pull someone, and then do like an air combo. He is so quick and nimble in the playset as a character, or in the game as a character that you're playing as. One of my favorite, if not favorite, Force users. I really, really dig him.
And he's so menacing. I feel like you made a comment about the voice acting early on, and even for me, I thought in the cutscenes like they did a pretty good job of infinitizing his voice. Not being the actor and stuff, but I feel like he kind of has that walk down when you're playing as him, and exactly
that thing he does, totally. And I love how when he fights, like, his lightsaber it's far away from him because it has those cross members, which they didn't explain in the movie. I wish they'd get into kind of how he made his lightsaber and why it exists like this. The amount of fanboy fights that are going on right now is like, it doesn't make sense. Oh no, it totally makes sense. I just want them to clear it up in the movie, but I love when he walks. Like, there's a weight to the heft of his sword when he's walking, and you can kind of see it. It's so good. He does look like a bad man when he walks towards you. Not in the same way as Vader does. Vader looks even more like a bad man, but Kylo looks like a kind of a new age bad man, not an OG bad man.
Totally. Well, and it's a so one's kind of menacing and the other and powerful, strong, where the other is kind of menacing and agile and fast and quick, and and you look at the stature, you look at his stance. Even the stance is super cool. I mean, that's rage right there. It looks like. I mean, it's like he's not holding back. You do not want this dude coming at you. So cool. Such a good. Yeah. These figures, they knocked him out of the freaking park.
I want to get a Kylo mask that opens like his does, where you push a button and then the mouthpiece slides down so you can take it off. That is such a cool effect. Like I was like, how could you fit, like, because Adam Driver has a lot of hair and he doesn't have a small head. I'm like, how can you fit all that in the mask? And it fits perfectly. I really dig it.
Since we're kind of there, what did you think about them showing his face and taking the mask off?
I thought it was great because it showed that this is just a baby. This is not an aged bad man. It is a young, inexperienced, brash teenager that obviously has mummy daddy issues and has a lot of rage that he doesn't know how to I don't know, release normally. Yeah. So he's lashing out at things. It's interesting. I wonder if there are going to be any flashbacks to him before he became kind of a dark side user, but when he was basically training.
I hope so.
I'd like to see how his attitude was before he did some evil things, like kill his father. It doesn't get much more evil than that. Because I'm really curious on how this character evolved from early on. But yeah, no, I liked it. It was funny seeing people in the audience laughed when he took his helmet off. It's like this big, bad, menacing character is just this baby face little kid. And it's like, they did that on purpose. They wanted you to know that he is just a baby, that he does not fully know what he's doing. And he's obviously being led down the path by someone that is just using him. And that's the way of the way of the dark side of the Force is take advantage of people and use people until you can kill them.
And it was such an interesting scene with Rey. Those two got to see each other, look each other in the eyes, and there's a connection there because they're both trying to find their own way and what they're dealing with. And I don't know. I mean, I definitely feel like Rey she has more confidence in that scene because all of a sudden she's realizing she has all these amazing Force powers, and that's scaring Kylo Ren. But the fact that he still had enough confidence to take off his mask and stare at her straight in the eyes, I think was really, really cool.
Yeah, I liked the fact that no amount of drugs could get the information out of Poe. And then just a few minutes in the chair, he got what he needed because he's basically stripping the memories out of the brain himself using the Force. So he's obviously really, really powerful. But for to I guess step away from the play sets a bit and go back to the movie, the interaction between Rey and Kylo was great. Like, she has no idea what she's doing, and she's walking all over someone that was trained by Luke, trained by the new Dark Lord. That is amazing, and that has to be super humbling and scary for Kylo as someone in this world. The fact that she could stop him from reading his mind, she could do the Jedi mind trick, and then he's trying to grab the lightsaber with the Force, and she just kind of grabs it and it goes right past him, and she grabs it and he kind of looks at her like, oh crap, I'm in big trouble here. That was amazing. So we know that he's upset, his tail's between his legs, and he's either going to train and become a badass, or he's going to be a whiny, sulky, but I wanted to do that kind of character in the other movies. But it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, totally. And I like that they did that. They kind of made him be the one on his back foot to set up for the next movie. So instead of he being the all powerful that we're going to take 3 movies to kind of work up to, it's like, no, he needs some more work. And Rey is kind of like the alpha right now. She's the one you don't want to be messing with, good or bad.
And the best part is he got shot, so he's bleeding. Or no, he didn't get shot. He cut himself with his own lightsaber. So he's bleeding. So there's always that doubt in the back of your mind is like, how injured is he? Is that the reason why he's not winning here? So They're really smart.
Good point.
This was a really smart script. They did some really good things with storytelling, but just setting up the episode 8 and 9, they did a really, really good job with leaving so many unknowns. Like, we have no idea what's going to happen in the next movie because they left so many unknowns where they could focus on so many different areas for the next movie.
And everything seemed deliberate. Nothing seemed accidental. It wasn't like this was put in there and for no real reason, or this was left out for no real reason. Everything seemed very clean and direct. So.
Yep, totally. Yeah.
So cool. Well, let's go ahead and circle back. I want to make sure we finish up the playset conversation. So I have gotten to, I forget what it is, but I think it's the Star Destroyer above Starkiller Base. Is that it's right after Takodon, right after the space section of there. But I literally just landed, so I feel like I don't feel like I'm on the planet yet, but.
You on this little tiny world that you can run around, kind of like Super Mario Galaxy type thing?
No, not that. So I escape Takodon, and then I have to kill a couple of Star Destroyers up above, and then I was okay. I was looking at chat, so not paying attention.
So you were definitely right there. So after you defeat the 4 Star Destroyers or whatever it is, because after you beat one, a couple fly in. You then do land, and then you do battle in Starkiller Base.
Okay, cool.
And that's the last chunk of the playset.
So I had an interesting conversation with Chris over at Disney Holics yesterday, and he wrote his review. He published his review yesterday, and he was saying that this wasn't his favorite playset. The jury's still out for me, Lloyd, but the first hour I had in the playset, I was not enjoying it. I wasn't feeling well, though, and I honestly think that's what it was, because my 2 subsequent playthroughs, I've loved every second of it. So what are your thoughts on the playset?
I don't know. I really, really like it. I like the fact that you could potentially play this before watching the movie, and it doesn't really spoil any of the big plot pieces. About the only plot piece that it spoils that you don't really know about is the fact that Rey uses a lightsaber. So there's that big she does this weird flourishing thing and whatever, and it's just like, okay, that really wasn't needed if you wanted to keep that a secret. That's about it. So they did a really good job. Just like the original trilogy playset, they kind of told the story in a different way. You had characters in the scene that weren't really there in the first place. They kind of took the story of episode 7 and did that as well. They changed it enough and kind of softened it enough where the big things that happen in the movie will still be a surprise. So Finn being a stormtrooper that gets turned or turns himself because he realizes what he's doing is bad. Thanks for muting your mic. So that wasn't there. The whole battle, escaping from Starkiller with Poe, all that stuff was just kind of assumed. It's like you've landed and you don't know what's happening. The death of Han is not a thing. The big battle doesn't play out at all in the game as it does in the movie. So there's so much stuff that is not spoiled. Perfect. I was so worried about my kids watching this before they've seen the movie. I was worried myself if I didn't get a chance to go on opening night, but I wanted to play this on opening day. What's gonna happen? Like, is it gonna spoil stuff? It would have spoiled a little bit, but not enough where I would have hated the fact that I played it first. Really, really smart the way they did that. From the playset standpoint for size, it does seem a little bit smaller than some of the other ones, and that is maybe because there's so many different like random tasks. Like in each kind of city, there's so many characters that will just give you random stuff to do, where that really wasn't such a big thing in all the other playsets. So I don't know if that's there just so you can have more fun, or if it was there to kind of extend the playtime. That was interesting. And the fact that you like there's that game that you can find different kind of play sets for that in that game. That's what is it called? Space Battles or something. Which I loved. I mean, that was a great addition. I want more of that in Disney Infinity. That was great. But yeah, it was just like, okay, this is not really adding anything to the story. It's just taking time away from me playing it, adding
Right.
to a bigger playtime for the game. All stuff that I don't really mind. I really like this playset. It's probably because I really liked episode 7 and I really want to go see episode 7 another 20 times. But to be able to go see the movie and then immediately play in that world was something that really has never been done before.
Yep.
Not to this extent. I mean, there's been movies that have come out and then there's a video game around that movie available. But this is something that many people already own. And all they had to do is go buy a little set and they're in the world of the movie. So they could go see the movie Saturday at 3 p.m. and then Saturday at 6 p.m. they're at Toys R Us buying the play set, taking it home and playing it. Pretty damn amazing for what they did there. I love the fact that the play set was actually on the disc the whole time. It was just encrypted. And if you have an internet connected set, or a system, you have to go to a website, grab a code, punch in the code, and then you can unlock it. That was really smart. Cool. And they've learned from past mistakes, having all the stuff just sitting there on the disk that people can data mine. I don't know. I really like it. I don't know where it sits yet in a ranking. I definitely like it better than the prequel trilogy playset. I didn't really like that so much. But the original trilogy playset I really enjoyed because I really love that.
Yeah.
That story. Are you okay? Did you lose something?
Yeah, I lost you for a moment.
Okay.
Yeah, you just said you really liked the original trilogy playset, and then it froze. So.
Yeah. So yeah, I really dig it. I know you haven't completed it yet, but what are your thoughts on it?
So to respond to something you said, so far I like how they've stayed away from spoilers as well. But if you have seen the movie, you do get it, and
there. It's a little subtext.
Yeah, so I feel like it's something that we are consciously thinking about, given kind of what we do with the podcast and stuff like that. But if you're just someone who is playing it after seeing the movie, then it does everything you want it to do, and it provides that experience that you're like, oh, I want to live this experience, and I like that it's a little bit different and new. Before I started playing the playset, I started to read this article about it prior to it even being released, and that basically that article was saying that this was a copy and paste of the Rise Against the Empire playset. So I walked in with that kind of expectation, and I don't know what this person was thinking, because although there's similarities in the movie, it feels very different to me than Rise Against the Empire. There's similar aspects of it, like the salvaging stuff, but you're not building, at least not yet, and I don't think you're going to. You're not really building a base like you were in, previously in the Toy Story, and then also in Rise Against the Empire, and that's cool. Although that was a super fun and awesome mechanic, I didn't want that in this playset, and
I did.
You did?
I spent hours like harvesting little bits of scrap and amassing like 4,000 pieces of scrap, and then it turns out that you really don't have to do anything. You have to spend them in 200 scrap chunks to replace pipes and other things. So I hoped for a little bit more there. But there really isn't the content there, because we would have known about that content because you could browse all that stuff in the toy store. So I think they had to be very limited with the amount of unlockable toys other than characters and vehicles that we already knew about, because that stuff was browsable from day one, basically, in the store. So they had to really keep that stuff away. My question is there going to be some of this stuff patched in maybe in the new year, now that the movie, they don't have to worry about spoilers because people can go see the movie? I wonder if that's going to be a thing that's going to happen.
It's funny because I agree with you. The mechanic itself was a lot of fun, and I guess, and ironically, I feel like scrap came easier than the coins did of Rise Against the Empire. I feel like it took a lot more grinding in Rise, which wasn't a bad thing, but I was like expecting to spend, like you were saying, a lot more of these scraps to do things. And right now I'm like, every time I come across something I don't worry about, I'm not going to jump on this ledge, but I'll fix this. Why? Because I have 10,000 scraps just sitting there not being spent.
I think it was because it took so much to get the 1,000 or 1,500 that you needed to get the Millennium Falcon. It's just like, oh, it's gonna take forever. Now I gotta grab every single scrap that I see, and then after you basically just replacing pipes from then on out. A little bit of a letdown, I guess.
Yeah. So far, I'm really digging the environments. They're very varied. The chat was talking, and I was talking with the chat this morning when I was live streaming. There's quite a bit of disappointment and missed opportunity with no sky domes for like Takodon. That needs a place or a sky dome. Freaking Star Killer Base when you're in space, that needs a sky dome because that is
really cool.
So cool. And I was talking to chat this morning. I don't get it. They're made. I don't think there is a difference between playset sky domes and these, with the exception of kind of the bottom. It's not even the ground, but it's and the playsets are actually covered up with ground, but sky domes you have to have that virtual kind of bottom there. So I don't know why they did this.
Maybe that's something they can patch in. Maybe there'll be a patch that will unlock them as something that you can use in the Sky Dome changer, which would be great. But yeah, it'd be really nice to get another set of Force Awakens power discs that is just Sky Domes and texture sets, and maybe some other things that you can't really use yet. Some other vehicles. Yeah. I really going back to the power discs. This one is great. Finn's Stormtrooper is amazing. The best power disc in all of 3.0. The attack from space thing, I can't even remember what it's called. Meh.
Agreed.
Poe's putting his jacket back on Poe is just kind of a weird thing to have a power disc for.
That was I hate this power disc because it's not Poe's jacket. You have no connection with Poe in this jacket.
Not in the game for sure.
Well, even from the movie, it's like, yes, it started out that way, but intentionally you connect that jacket now with Finn, and so I don't like that. But anyway,
and the quad jumper vehicle is pretty cool, but again, it's just another vehicle that I'd like to be selectable in game, so I could just place it in my playsets and have to worry about a disc. But I'm all about the texture discs and the Sky Dome discs. So if we got another set of that, I'd be really, really happy. I'd love an old Han costume change disc. They've said that they'll never, ever, ever do that, which is a shame because I really like the look of the old Han character in the game. I'd love to be running with that.
We might get him as a figure, and I actually would be okay with the figure because I feel like he would look pretty cool. Totally. His facial features in the game, old Han, they did a really good job of kind of replicating Harrison Ford's look current.
Totally. Yeah, so. His degraded character model. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I really like the power discs. I love the playset. I love the figures. The movie itself. Like you said, it's your favorite Star Wars movie. It's right up there with me. Like I have to see it a few more times before I'm really willing to rank it. It's light years ahead of the prequel trilogy. I like it maybe as much as Return of the Jedi, and maybe I'll have to see it a few more times before I really say that. But it was really, really, really good. Like it had to be good, and it was. But when things have to be good, they're usually just good. This was great. This exceeded on all aspects of what I expected from the movie. They totally knocked it out of the park. Like J.J. Abrams is a Star Wars fan, and it shows. It was really, really good. I just want to see it again. I want to go now and watch it after talking about it for an hour.
Me too. Yeah, playset is my kind of final thought remains to be seen. So far, it's super positive though, and I'm loving the playset. The movie, I agree. I think it hit all the fan service notes that it needed. I don't feel like it personally went overboard. I've heard some things online, read some things, where people are like, that was a little bit too winky, and I'm like, nah, man, it's
online. Will, you don't say. That is so weird that people play online.
Right? I'll be super interested to see where you land as far as like where it actually rates for you in the end, as far as kind of like your favorites of the Star Wars movies. Just because I kind of want that perspective from your eyes, being such a maniacal fan. No, I'm just kidding. Such a big Star Wars fan.
Sure.
Yeah, man, great. I'm glad this is the outcome, because there was so much hype and so much expectation. The fact that it met / exceeded many, if not most, people's expectations, that in and of itself is a pretty phenomenal feat, simply because the cards were stacked against it. I mean, it's hard to just meet expectations when there's something that is this big and important to people, and such a, I don't know, people just have their opinions. I mean, look at the freaking lightsaber and the fanboy outrage that caused by lots of people, and the argument that it caused from both sides of the fence. I mean, that just goes to show how passionate Star Wars fans are. And
Totally.
props to you, JJ. Props to you. And to Disney. And I mean, the helm, the actors, the controllers of it, Kathleen Kennedy. It's, my hypes are so high. I mean, my hopes are so high for. I can't wait for Rogue One. I am super excited for that now.
Yep. I want to see all the things. I want to read all the things. I want to watch all the things. Like there's so many books that are now part of canon that I'm trying to go back and read them all. There's TV stuff. There's movie stuff. There's spin-off movies. Like there's comics, like 7 different series of comics or something now, and more coming out. I want to immerse myself fully in Star Wars, and I really, really dig it. And they didn't ruin it. I thought this movie, if it was bad, it would be like, well, yeah, screw Star Wars. I'm done. I'm walking away. You guys ruined me. But this just made me even more hyped. I want to get more toys. I want to get more posters. I want to buy more T-shirts. They made someone that's already a fan a bigger fan, and that is a really tough thing to do, but they did a really good job with this movie.
Yes, they did. And I think, my friend, that's a good place to end it, because this conversation is just gonna keep going. We're just gonna keep talking Star Wars, keep talking Force Awakens, probably until the next one comes out, or at least until Rogue One.
Definitely.
All right. Well, super fun talk, buddy. Thanks for everyone who was participating in the chat. It was super cool seeing all of your thoughts. We've got to interact with a lot of our listeners with the release last week, and it's been fun. Just kind of, it's reminded me of the launch of Infinity. It's like everyone's just so jazzed and happy and excited, and that's how the movie was too.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if Disney's going to release numbers on how many play sets they've sold, because it's got to be a huge number. There's going to be so many people that are buying Infinity just to play this, and then getting hooked in on all the other stuff. It's a really smart marketing move that they did.
Yep. I'll be interested to see, because I haven't felt any indication. Like, I haven't seen a big boom on our end as far as like potential new players of the play sets. But it's also Christmas time, and I've heard from lots of people that either the figures or the play set itself is on their Christmas list. So
totally.
Cool. Well, thanks everyone. I feel like Force Awakens was the best Christmas present we all could have gotten. I don't want to forget this. Toy Box TV had their 100th episode this week, and so a super congrats to them. What a great time for them to do that, and it was a awesome, interesting, unique episode. So everyone should go definitely check out them. Check out Toy Box TV, and congrats to all of them.
Yeah, congrats to Disney. 100 episodes. That's really awesome, guys. You guys are putting on a really great show, and the fact that JV is there almost every single time is just amazing to me, because he's a pretty big deal.
Pretty big deal. Busy man.
Just like Finn.
Oh, that was great. Don't call me Solo. All right, big deal. Let's go. Oh, cool. All right, well, everyone, thank you so much. Lloyd, where can people find you on the interwebs?
Well, they can head on over to rezd.tv, rezd.tv, or rezd.tv, if you will, to check out all the stuff we're doing on the Rez Network. Inside Infinity is a member of the Rez Network, so you can find the shows there. That is the official home. If you go to DisneyInfinity.tv. It takes you right there. But you can check out all the other stuff that we do there. Nintendo Pulse, which is our weekly Nintendo show. We do D-Res, which Will and I co-host. Inside Dimensions, which is the game about Lego Dimensions. And a whole pile of other things over at res.tv. So you can check that out. You can also follow me on Twitter. I'm at Dasme on Twitter, DASME. And love chatting with you all. And thanks to everybody that's been commenting and sending me tweets. It's been great interacting with more of you now that I'm doing this more regularly than in the past. So love chatting with you all.
Awesome. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at iLiam or at Disney TV. Lim is over there manning that as well. And you can find us on twitch.tv/Disney TV. Thanks everyone who watched this week's episode. Thanks everyone who's listened. This is going to be the last episode before Christmas, so we wish all of you a very, very happy holidays. Hope you get all the Disney Infinity on your Christmas list this year. And if not, if you already have it all, we just hope you have lots of time to do nothing but play Disney Infinity. Get all those collectibles, shoot all those Minox, get all the holocrons, get all the things. Get all the things. It's collecting in game and out of game. That's exactly it. That's all I got.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and Happy New Year to all you fine folks out there. Hopefully you all have a really awesome holiday season, whatever you do and whatever you celebrate. It's a great time to gather around with friends and family and play video games. And that's what I'm going to be doing a heck of a lot of over the next little bit. So I can't wait.
Me too, buddy. Not gonna make everyone go through the holiday special again. I am gonna take it out just a little bit different this time. I'm just gonna keep it real and just say punch it Chewy.
Nice.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode of the Inside Infinity Podcast, episode 117, recorded December 23rd, 2015. If you like what we do, please follow, subscribe, rate us on iTunes. It really helps us out. And thanks to all of you who are listening to the podcast version. If you're interested in contributing, check us out on patreon.com/Disney Infinity TV, where you can become one of our patrons. Help us do what we do. It helps us out bringing you these podcasts. Also, please, if you're interested in what we do, check us out over at res.tv. And while you're over there, subscribe to youtube.com/Res TV. And also Disney Infinity. youtube.com/Disney Infinity TV.